And hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Inside Movies Galore. I am your host for the evening on episode 93, where we are going to talk about our worst movies we have ever seen. So I'm going to start off with Brandon here, also known as Septum Sin. Why don't you tell me what's your first title that you would pull up if you were to talk about the worst film that you have ever seen?
Well, there's three categories that I have for, and I've talked about this a little bit in my reviews, which I do occasionally, as to what makes a low review. I even had somebody, one of my few negative comments on my site was talking about how, well, you gave this too high a score. Don't you score anything low? And I'm like, yeah, I do. But I have three things. The three deadly sins, I guess you could say. One, the most deadly of the deadly sins is boredom. Then the next one over is I have to have some connection to the characters. If I hate all of the characters, then that's there. And then the third is just a pure insult to my intelligence.
I've had films where the characters were boring and yet the film was interesting. So
that was the problem I have with Street Trash, is that I didn't like any of the characters. But it was not one of the ones I would rank lowest.
Is it your old man that loves the Libertine?
Yes.
I thought The Libertine was a well-made movie. It was well acted. It was kind of interesting, but I thoroughly loathed almost every single character. That was a good example.
Well, you asked me for my first one up, and it's the one that I don't have because I got rid of it. I have two technically that I got rid of, but this one to me was the cardinal of cardinal sins, which was boredom. Which was the movie called Artifact. It's an Australian horror film.
Are you sure? I could have sworn it was Belgian.
But Belgium horror, well, it's one of those.
I remember I got you an Australian horror film as a present once, and you said you hated it.
I didn't like it that much, but Artifacts, and I think you would concur with me on that one.
Artifacts bored the tears out of me. I didn't rate it as low as he did because I guess I could deal with boredom better.
Oh, I can't stand boredom.
It's oh man, it was boring. It was pointless.
The characters were not that likable. They weren't hateable, but that's even worse. The characters were bland. They were just like blank sheets of paper that just kind of floated in the wind.
Yeah.
Which would be an uptick for the movie because I actually considered that more entertaining than what I was watching. There was supposedly a horror plot line there, but I can't remember it. I tried watching it one more time before I sold it, and I was just no.
Well, I have not seen the film, so I can't verify that with you. But Kabuki, Jake, why don't you tell me what your first film that you would stick on the list of non-perishable films?
Well, first, I'll just go ahead and make a mention of that. I had to debate in my mind of which ones I really wanted to talk about here, because for one, I will very rarely watch a movie that I hate. In fact, one of the movies he's got in his pile here, I walked out of the room 5 minutes into it. And there have been just a couple of movies like that. I very rarely will watch a movie enough to where I can even say, yes, and we've already done a video about movies that in our own collection that we would rather not have. So I didn't want to duplicate any of those, Slam Dunk Ernest, Norbit, and what was the other one I mentioned? It was, I don't remember, but
you got rid of Trailer Park of Terror.
I never got to see that. I couldn't bring myself to watch it.
I actually enjoyed that one.
I really liked it. I thought it had a good devil.
I kind of want to see it. I know I got rid of it ultimately because of the whole mold issue, and I feared that it may have been infected.
Trace Adkins as a zombie.
I kind of want to see that. I admit, I kind of want to see that. But the first one I'm going to talk about is one that I think we would differ, and I picked it partly because of to hopefully get some discussion going. This is one that I've only seen the first movie in the franchise. I cannot remember what it got me to watch it, if I was watching it with friends or not. I just remember I saw it in college, and I thoroughly hated it. I thought it was the stupidest movie, and that was Wrong Turn. I just hated it. And, again, he's got the whole franchise over here.
I'm guilty too. So,
so there are some in that series that I can't stand.
I feel like it was a decent, what is it? A decent like ground basis film. You either love it or hate it, and it's kind of like liking Rest Stop or what was that? Jeepers Creepers. What was that one where they had the trucker going breaker breaker breaker?
Was that Joyride?
Joyride?
Yeah, that was Joyride.
I think I actually did see that one. Yeah. Actually,
I'm not talking about the Joyriders.
Is that the one with Lelia Sobieski?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think I actually saw that in theaters, strangely enough, which would make it one of the lower rated ones I saw in theaters.
The first two were really good in that series. It's just the third one for me that took a wrong turn.
It did.
All right.
So my first is actually from the 70s. And I picked this up. I think I picked it up at Half Price Books, and it's a rare Italian. I'll give it that. It's a rare Italian Giallo title, but it's from 1971, and it bored the tears out of me. And it's called Something Creeping in the Dark. So it's got a cool title. It looks like something that would have been distributed on Alpha Video or something to that effect, because it has a company called Video Dimensions, and to me, like cheesy films, just sticks a plastic label on it and puts their own label out. Has this leaflet thing. It looks professional, but basically it's a professional bootleg. So, but it might actually be a legit, a bootlegging company, similar to like Alpha Video. So,
yeah,
this one just was all kind of just disjointed all over the place, and it just wasn't my style. And that to me was kind of a downer, because I get into films like Suspiria, and I get into Zombie and films by Mario Bava and stuff like that. So I'll have to rewatch this just because I always watch a film twice, but I only watched it like a quarter of the way, and then I had to shut it off.
Wow. Shame though, yeah, because actually Suspiria is getting that remake is
and I'm twittering about it, so I'm gonna keep my opinion to myself for right now.
Yeah, I've never actually seen it, so I can't really say.
But okay, I'm gonna go counterclockwise and go back to you for, your second film. What would you put on your second your second film to put in the burn pile?
The second one is one that he subjected me to.
You better not put them on the burn pile. They're mine.
Right. Again, when we're talking about most of these movies, I would not own. Like, generally, there are exceptions. Again, some of them we did in the previous video. I have reasons. Norbit was an Oscar nominee, so I have to have it, But like this one, I mean, geez, it's all, it's right there from 2 of the 6 writers of Scary Movie. I mean, it's high praise indeed. But we have Epic Movie. And I will say this, Scary Movie is high art compared to this movie.
I would have to agree.
I actually thought it was funny.
It caused me to...
It's almost down there with Meet the Spartans.
This one caused me to chuckle maybe twice. It caused me to almost grin a couple times. And that was it. Mostly I was bored.
Better than one I've got on the list.
Yes, yes. I was able to get through this, but I was bored.
I
mean, it was almost Artifacts boring.
I showed it to him, too.
For a comedy is not supposed to bore you. And it was just aggressively bad. It's like, I don't know. Again, it's not the worst that these people have inflicted on the world. But it just, yeah.
Is there anything that you can say to defend this movie?
Not really, no.
I can. I actually thought that there were moments that were really, and no, don't get me wrong, it's a bad movie, but there were moments that made me want to keep it. Like the guy who did the Jack Sparrow, or Jack Swallows as the character one. He actually did an excellent job in this, and his comedic performance to me saved the film, especially at the very end, where you're just watching the villain and he just runs her over with the with the wire wheel at the end. And that to me, like I said, that I laughed periodically throughout, which is more than I can say for like one of the ones.
Well, now back to you. What is your second film on your list?
I'm going down categories. Now, this one was on our video, and this is the category of I hate everyone. I have a visceral hatred for this film. It is my least liked movie in my collection.
And for a while, it was number 1 on my list.
And that is American Beauty.
For some reason. The only reason why I like that film is because of the love interest between the teacher and the father and the daughter. I think it was.
To me, I just couldn't like any of the characters in it. And adding on to that, it was that constant, no, you just need to watch it again. No, you just need to see it again. It's really the best movie. You just got to keep doing it.
Well, and the photographer, the kid who was playing the photographer, I think he went on and played the evil witch in, I think, that Boy Witch movie.
That Boy Witch movie.
Yeah, the Boy Witch movie, because you have the Teen Witch movies, but you have the Boy Witch movie. I forget what the name of it was, but they had a big truck jump in the film, and I believe it was, oh god, I can't remember the name of it, but probably because it's that forgettable. But
I do remember he starred in a very tedious and forgettable drama called The Four Feathers.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed that version with Heath Ledger, I believe.
Yeah,
it was all right. I just expected more, And
I have watched this 10 times, and I have to say I understand why people like it. I just can't stand it.
I've seen it more times than I have. I actually saw American Beauty in theaters, and I've probably seen it. I've seen it at least 6 or 7 times, but yeah, I just find that amusing.
In theater 6 or 7?
No, only once. There's only been 2 movies I've seen that many times in theaters. One of these.
So my second film in the I would rather see it burn pile. It actually comes from Trauma, which surprises me because most of the time I love Trauma films. But this film is called Horror of the Hungry Humongous Hungin. There's a new man in town. Now, I love that title, okay? I love that title and that tagline. And I gotta admit, that cover actually looks entertaining. And it comes in these Toxie Triple Terror box sets, okay?
Mhm.
Wow.
And originally, and it, of course, it came with Croaked, Frog Monster from Hell, which is also known as Ronnie. Which is,
I like that title.
Is from director Bill Rebane of the Giant Spider Invasion, which is a film that Troma has picked up. Now, granted, I love the box set. I do not like this movie.
You can't split up a box set like that.
No, you can't split up a box set like that. No way, Jose. And I've seen people sell things that have been in box sets with these little thin covers, and I just want to get up and like murder them.
Yeah. The collector and me just can't do it. I just can't split up a box set like that.
You're on eBay and you see a really awesome deal, and you look DVD only, Blu-ray only. You bastards!
But in any case, evidently there's an ancient voodoo curse that comes to life, and there's a scientific experiment. It's just it does not work. And any person who you will find that has reviewed this film before will actually not like it either. I have not found one person who has liked this film.
See, you got to take that should be a discussion for later on. Is movies that are in the collection purely because of the name.
Well, that's in there because of the box set, purely. I kid you not. So, now I'm going to go clockwise and go back to you, Brandon, and ask you about your third, if you had one.
Yeah, remember I have my 3 categories, which the last one would be. So the first one was boredom. The second one was visceral hatred for the characters, and the third was a pure insult to my intelligence.
Which this movie is. This is the one I walked out of the room.
I don't think many people could actually say a disaster movie was not the insult.
I can't say that I have a love for that film. I saw it once. I don't own it.
I've seen it twice. There's only one scene in this entire film that I laughed at. One. And that was when they had the Alvin and the Chipmunk puppets and they started singing death metal. And I don't know why that part actually did just cracked me up. And I admit I had a good laugh at that. But in the rest of
the movie
was Alvin Krauser's son.
They were like foaming at the mouth with murderous looks in their eyes.
It's like he took Alvin and the Chipmunks and made them do German death punk.
Well, you see, there's even, if you can see it, and I don't know if they've got that, but there's a picture of Alvin like right there in the corner.
Oh, he looks a little rabid.
Yeah, and so. Otherwise, like there's a part in it where like the person from the movie, oh gosh, that fairy tale movie, the one that where they went from the animated to real life, Enchanted, and she's sitting there eating broken glass, bleeding out of the mouth, thinking like it's food. And first off, that just strikes me as totally idiotic, and second off, I was just like just disturbed by it at the same time.
All right, going over to you, Kabuki Jake, for your third. What would you put on the list for non-perishable films?
Well, I'll just mention again with disaster movie, one of the reasons I walked out of the room also was just production values. It looked like something that a college frat would put together on the
production value.
It was so awful production wise.
But I think it was purposely meant for that reason, just to get some college kids' imagination out there, even though it was terrible, and slap some kind of ridiculous title on it just to market it because they were losing money on their last film.
Sometimes all you need is stolen projector screen and booze.
Now, does that say Dimension Films on it?
What's that?
Does that say Dimension Films on it?
Does it? Is it
What's
Dimension?
this? It is Lionsgate.
Lionsgate.
Lionsgate. So
Oh.
that was
Anything.
that was Lionsgate before Disney bought them. They were losing money and they knew it, so they were trying to do whatever they could.
At any rate, so my last one is not a very old movie, but I briefly, for about a year or so, I had a job at a movie theater, and well, of course, one of the perks is you get to see free movies.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I was working 3 jobs, and it was making me narcoleptic, and I had all this other stuff to do, so I didn't get to take advantage of that very often. And some of the movies I saw, for example, Run All Night, I got a good nap in that one. But Run All Night definitely falls into the boredom category. Although the scenes with Ed Harris were good, but otherwise, but one movie that I saw for free while I was working at the theater was so bad that and ticked me off so badly that I still overpaid because I gave them my time. I hated this movie so bad, and that was Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. And part of the reason I hated it so bad is I liked the first Paul Blart. I liked it. It was a fun movie. Paul Blart was likable. Jayma Mays was great. She was, they had a cute little thing going. Mm-hmm. Kevin James is not a great actor, but he can be a likable one. Paul Blart 2 threw it all out the window. Jayma Mays is left out of the movie. They took everything that made Paul Blart likable, chucked it, and left him as an overweight jerk who is totally unlikable. You talk about a visceral loathing for characters. Yeah. I loathed him in this movie. And on top of that, they had no good plot. It was a stupidly written movie. The girl who played his daughter tried her best to save the movie, and the scenes she was in, some of them were okay. But mostly this was a horrible turd of a movie that I hated all the more because the first one was good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually didn't mind Paul Blart too, but I didn't have that level of dislike for it. But I didn't like it particularly. But it's in there because I'm an OCD collector. I have to have all of the sequels. That's why I have all 6 Wrong Turns.
The behind door number 3 for my film is, remember that knockoff cover that I told you about that looks like Dracula?
Yeah.
Okay, well, here we go.
Vampire.
Now, it does look a little bit like the Dracula cover.
Wow.
Okay, so this movie is called Vampire. And it was so poorly made. It was directed by a E.Y. Shunzi. I can't even.
That's what I heard. It was directed by E.Y. That's why you disliked it.
WAISHUNGI. Well, any case, he supposedly has this conflicted disease or whatnot, and he doesn't. I don't even think he drinks blood, and it was just so poorly made. It was like he was just taking a video camera and filming this in a basement. And no, okay, I maybe that sounds like I'm hating on my genre, but it was just horrible. It was not really entertaining. It was boring.
Yeah,
and I can't. I mean, yeah, I believe that they were actually knocking off Dracula in there, and I like Dracula to an extent. The biggest reason why I didn't like Dracula was because he had that darned awful, ugly white wig. The Dracula on Gary Oldman. I did not like that ugly ass wig on his head. I'm sorry. Even a Parliament wig would look better. A proper Parliament wig would look better than that.
Yeah.
Brought to emulation.
I think the weakest thing in that was Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder as the two main characters. They're all right, but they did not fit those roles.
Didn't she just get back from shoplifting or something?
No, that was before that. As far as we know. It's funny, your description of that, there were certain elements of your description of vampire that reminded me a lot of the second Twilight movie. So, that was boring as hell.
Except he didn't sparkle. He didn't.
Yeah, I was going to ask if he sparkled. Okay.
He was in the basement or anything. It was just there wasn't even a vampire a baseball game in there. It was just. Although the vampire baseball game was actually cool. Okay, but that part was the only reason why you should see Twilight.
Was that the second movie?
No, that was in the first movie.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. The second one was boring as hell. The first one was okay. It was not great, but it was okay.
Well, yeah. My thing is, at the same time, Vampire Diaries was out as a series. So they were while Twilight was combating in the theaters, Vampire Diaries was combating on television. Yeah. And both of those were based on teenage book series. Now, I read Vampire Diaries, and that was a good-ass series. They fucked it up. They fucked it up. That's all I can say. But I liked the characters that were involved in the Vampire series, which ultimately led to a spin-off to the originals, which kind of eventually sucked. But in any case, those are my three, and I will probably go and revisit these because I have not written these up. These I saw way before I even started reviewing films for real. So we'll have to see whether I enjoy any of these. I know that I probably may because I'm older, I may enjoy certain aspects of maybe something creeping in the dark. Maybe.
Oh, that's possible. Sometimes, the mind can slow down a little bit more for a slower film if there is some depth to it worth exploring.
It was choppy, from what I remember. It just jumped from here to there to there to there. And that's what I remember about that film. It felt like it's like they didn't even have time to edit.
Yeah, and I've seen movies like that myself where I'm like, they could have spent more time in the editing booth. One of the
Suicide Squad.
Well, oh jeez, horribly edited movie. And then last year, one of the movies that a lot of the critics raved about. Have you had a chance to see A Ghost Story?
I have it. I have it. I just have not watched it yet. Why?
I liked some of it, and I liked some of what they did with it.
Does it have Casey Affleck?
Yeah, it had Casey Affleck, and I like the fact they kill him off in the first 5 minutes. But the thing with The Ghost Story is, this is one of those movies where, in all fairness and honesty, they could have cut 5 minutes and it would not have changed a damn thing. They probably could have cut more than that.
The reason why I have not yet watched it is because Casey Affleck is another actor that I really don't think knows how to act. He speaks very softly, and I can barely understand what he's ever saying in any film.
He did deserve. Well, there's a part of me that really hates to say he deserved the Oscar because it's because of other things with him. But he did earn a place for his acting nod for, what was that movie?
Manchester by
the Sea.
For one, I think he can act, but I agree with you that he tends to mumble way too much.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of stopped me from liking Ain't Them Dead Body Saints, or what that movie was about, a bank heist. And he came back into town, and I'm sorry, I just could not hear anything that he was saying. And I understand that it was the Pete's Dragon director, but he has to speak up. I mean, he can't just speak like he just got back from like pulling his hand out of his crotch, you know.
Yeah. Everyone needs a hobby.
Yeah.
But in any case, yeah, I believe that Casey Affleck, for the most part, is used as a pretty boy face. For the most part, I mean, that's my opinion. You don't have to like it or hate it, but you know, that's me.
Well, he's used because he's got a famous big brother.
Yeah. His brother is Batman, so who gives a fuck?
He's Batman.
Hey, call up that actor. He'll do anything. Hey, can you jump over and do tricks?
Actually, though, Ben Affleck's Batman was probably one of the few things that was good about Batman versus Superman.
I agree, because at least he had a Batman voice. I mean, I believe that a Batman should have a voice. I don't think he should just be whoever talking like the person normally does. I think he should have this. Okay, Commissioner Gordon. You know, come in, Robin. Or you know, that deep growly voice. He should have that kind of a voice.
Yeah.
But in any case, did anyone else have any other films that they may have wanted to add, or should we actually save any other films for another episode?
Yeah, we can always revisit in the future.
Right. I was trying to think if there were any others that jumped to mind.
I see one in
me.
the boring category down there, but that's me.
There's a few, like I mentioned briefly before, and again, things may change. When I saw Lord of Illusion, it was in high school, and at the time, I
don't have that one.
More easily offended by that kind of a movie. So maybe if I saw it again, I wouldn't think as poorly of it. But I know when I saw it, I hated it. And then there are movies that are genuinely awful that at least made me chuckle, like Leonard Part 6.
Yeah.
The part with the porn reading fish did make me chuckle. There were actually, that made me laugh out loud. I mean, there were a couple parts. You know, there are some movies, but sometimes all it takes is revisiting them. My dad had bought me The Graduate when I was in high school, and I watched it and hated it. And I watched it again 3 or 4 years later and loved it. You know, so
I have to rewatch The Graduate because I own it now, but I still dislike the film.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe if I see The Libertine again, I'll love it this time.
You're talking about the one with Johnny Depp, right?
Yes. My one of my father's favorite movies by him.
Yes.
I get it.
What about see, that one kind of reminded me of The Man Who Couldn't Cry.
Of the what?
Johnny Depp was in a movie and
cried.
Oh yes, The Piano 2. I don't know why they call it that.
See,
The Man Who Couldn't Cry, and
The Man Who Cried. It was kind of dull. I wasn't blown away by it, but it was okay.
Well, just like The Astronaut's Wife, it was dull.
Yeah, I didn't really care for that one either.
But I actually did like the fact that Johnny Depp showed depth by playing such a stale piece of toast, which is, you know, something that I have not seen him do.
Are you talking about his role in the Hateful Six? The Ridiculous Six.
I need to
The
see
Witch?
that too. The Adam Sandler. You're talking about the
Oh,
Ridiculous Six.
no, I haven't seen that.
No, I haven't seen it either.
Oh, I should have thought of that. That's one that was awful. Was absolutely awful. They actually, unfortunately, had Johnny Depp in it. It was
Oh,
Jack
Jack
and
and
Jill. Oh, man, that movie sucked. I felt really bad for Johnny Depp and really bad
They
for
were
Al.
trying to do a Tootsie Meets Mrs. Doubtfire in there.
Was that?
They were trying to do a Tootsie Meets Mrs. Doubtfire in there.
Both of which were much better movies.
Al
Much
Pacino's
better.
song at the end where he's doing the Dunkin' Donuts commercial is hilarious. The only thing that I really liked about the movie, but it was
Pacino was one of the movie's only
he was
saving
great. He
graces.
was overacting like only Al Pacino could.
I felt
overact.
bad for him, though. I really did. I mean, he's overacted before in good movies. You know, I don't care what people say. Dick Tracy is an awesome movie, but I don't know. I don't know why people don't like it, but whatever.
No.
I actually liked Warren Beatty and Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
It was fresh when it came out.
He actually made a comic book movie.
Yeah.
It really does feel like a comic book when you're watching it.
Really? Actually,
Yeah.
one that you can appreciate because you like some of these films, and these are rare ones. Trucks.
That's the Stephen King version of Maximum Overdrive, I believe. I have that one.
Yeah, and this one's a fairly, since they didn't really get a good release on DVD, I was surprised. I found this at a Goodwill for $1. And I said, I got to get this. This is just
I have the reprints.
because this was actually a screener copy.
Nice.
So I can understand why somebody probably would want to throw that out. But there is something to it, like where they have a little toy truck bashing a guy's
After Stephen King's cocaine binge, that he went about and tried to redo it with Mick Garris's guidance, I believe. To revamp his version of Maximum Overdrive, even though, okay, I know that people hated Maximum Overdrive. I know that people did, but that is actually one of my favorite Stephen King films. Partially because it was directed by him, partially because I absolutely do not agree that a film should always follow a book.
Yeah, that's how people look at Kubrick's The Shining.
Yes, I will admit I hated The Shining.
I hated it too.
I've grown to appreciate it. I still think it's vastly overrated, but I can enjoy watching it. But this is an example of changing from the book. Most of the changes were, The biggest issue I had was I didn't like them changing from the croquet mallets to the axe. In part because they killed the guy. You couldn't really hit him with an axe and have him survive. And I like that guy. I really like that character.
Well, plus, if you remember, the film ended in fire, whereas the Kubrick ended in ice. The character of the mother was actually a blonde-haired woman, whereas what's her name who played the Ball.
And I never liked her performance at all.
He actually remembers being abused by the director, involved, and she ended up being a floor mat, where she wasn't exactly a floor mat in the book.
Right.
Well, he did try and redo it with the TV miniseries for The Shining, which was very on spot accurate. People didn't like it, but I enjoyed it because I enjoyed the book.
Mm-hmm.
Much like
too, because it was more about the character of the house, the hauntings involved.
Well, he develops his characters. That's the reason why Stephen King is as good a writer as he is.
Right.
Stephen King is my favorite writer. So to me, what makes some of his books as entertaining as he is character development. You get to know the characters slowly, and you get to know them so well that when they're in danger, you actually care about the characters. And they did that with that Shining miniseries. It's just it comes across as boring because it's like 5 episodes of character development.
If you ever get a chance, check out a book called The Stephen King Universe. And it's written by some editors, but what they do,
as opposed to Steven Universe,
the Stephen King Universe. Look it up. They have a revised version of it, I believe. And what they do is they connect each of the books and the short stories together in some way, shape, or form, saying that he created multi-universes within universes by different characters with different names, like Randall Flagg. He was in Eyes of the Dragon as well.
Oh yes,
and Midland is used throughout the Midland, the world of Midland, or whatever he uses. That particular world, like he used it in the Talisman. He used it in the Dark Tower series, and what these editors do is they base his whole entire work on the Dark Tower series and work their way outwards.
Well, I mean, Stephen King has said not all of them attached, but in the Dark Tower books themselves, he does have a list that he publishes of all of the books in his universe that fully connect to the series.
Some of them, the connections are obvious, and some of them they're not.
Well, shoot, like, they give them a copy of Insomnia at the end of book 7, and then they say, "Yeah, read this, but don't read into it too carefully, or else it'll screw with you."
Well, and then of course you've got book 4 where a large portion of it takes place in the Stand, and Randall Flagg makes an appearance. You got Father Callahan from Sailor's Lot, who's actually in there. You got a lot of. I still need to read Salem's Lot, but there's a few of these that I appreciate a lot more. I read The Stand after the Dark Tower, but I was reading it and I was like, I appreciate more from that series now.
Oh yeah, I mean, Eyes of the Dragon is one that I still say is a read that most people don't know, which is a very good book. It's a very good read.
Which I wouldn't mind if they turned it into a movie or something like that, because I mean, even though I know they've turned the Dark Tower, which was a fucked up hot mess.
Yeah.
Although I agree with the black actor that or the African American that played him.
Actually, I think he's British, but but Idris Elba did a good Roland.
Yeah,
and I liked McConaughey as the Man in Black. I thought he was good.
It's not about casting. It's just about the fact that
they messed up the story.
They tried too hard. It's like a DC movie. They wanted to go too fast into it, but now they're going to try and restart it, do it like they intended to do it as a series. They're also planning on doing a Talisman movie, which may interconnect. So
they might put the Bleak House back, or the Black House back in order to, or because they were always talking about doing a sequel to the Talisman as well afterwards.
Well, Black House was a great sequel to that.
I still say supposedly one of the books that supposedly ties in, of course, is It. And of course, the movie was so well received, and they've already greenlit the second half of the story. I was saying they should use that as the foundation for a Stephen King universe.
Well, that doesn't come back until the end of the series, though.
Yeah, but still, they could use that as a launching off point, and that could give people something to look forward to. You know what I mean? They just have to be patient and not do the DC route.
Can you tell we like the Dark Tower series?
Yes. And I do plan to read it. It's sitting on my shelf.
Well, I think we have had a full episode here. Okay. So I'm going to end this on that note, and I'm going to start with you, Kabuki Jake, to tell us a little bit about what you do and where you're from. So go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I'm here in Virginia, and I've got a couple of very different gigs that I work in. One is, I work in a library, so I deal a lot with media. And of course, with the channel, we deal a lot with media. And trying to, Steve, we've been talking about Stephen King. He's kind of inspired me to hopefully one day get some stuff, writing my own out there, but we'll see how that goes. One day. But, and the other thing, what's that?
All you got to do is pick up a pen and start writing.
Well, you also got to research and read. And actually, I went to a seminar, well, not really a full seminar, but sort of a mini seminar, local author last fall that was talking about how he probably reads. Oh, I don't remember what the breakdown he said, but it was something like he said he's reads probably 3 hours for every hour he writes or something. It's like you got to be a reader, and it really helps. It does help. And then it's finding the time. That's the thing, finding the time after you've taken the time for that.
I hear you on that. And why don't you tell me, Brandon, while you've got your bong ready?
Joined us.
Yeah, has come in to enjoy with us, which I'm waiting on my copy of Evil Bong 777.
So am I, because he said that it was going to come out the beginning of June.
Well, actually, yeah, that would be good.
Get that one day. I have the first 3. I need to get the others.
As we have
Brandon, puff, pass.
As we have finished our episodes for the day, we are both working with Septum Sin versus the World, which is a channel dedicated to physical media, like the Evil Bong series, and just in general doing reviews and methods behind movies. We actually are integrating into our news now upcoming releases in theaters, along with the upcoming movie releases for the following week, which I figure is a nice little add-on. And we proved that we could actually do that in the news in 30 minutes, which is pretty impressive for us. We're both long-winded.
Alrighty. And my name is David Strege. I run Inside Movies Galore, where I go on periodically with these fine gentlemen, sometimes just Septum Sin alone, and sometimes with a full group of knuckleheads. And we go on and talk about films. Also, I run a blog called Movies Galore of Milwaukee, and I also semi-produce, which one of the things that I have produced, I have finally finished producing as of this last week, and it will be coming out in August, and it's called Wrestle Massacre, which is directed by Brad Twigg from West Virginia. So, in any case, definitely check that out. I have started producing another feature and another short film, and there are some things that I'm working on with Dane, which he comes on the show periodically. I'll update that as that goes, and hopefully hopefully you've enjoyed our podcast about our 3 worst films. So definitely check out Septum Sin's page. And like and subscribe on ours. So tomorrow we are going to go on and talk about the 1988 cult classic film Slime City. Definitely keep your slime cups open for that podcast, and we will spill it for you tomorrow around 9 p.m. Central. So definitely check that out live. And Kabuki Jake, are you going to be coming for that episode?
I intend to. I have not had time to watch it yet, but I plan to tonight.
He's leery about the sausage and eggs.
I'll give it a go, and I plan to tune in whether or not I have watched the whole movie, but I will let you know up front if I have not.
Okay, cool. Well, I look forward to if you actually do come on. And Well, that's all the time we have for tonight, folks. So stay tuned, listen, like, and subscribe, and enjoy listening to this random talk about films that we hated. In any case, we'll let you know if we return to films that we have found out that we dislike and would rather just see go up in flame. In any case, everyone say good evening.
Good night.
Good evening.